Hello, comic peoples. It is Chase, and you know what it is. We're talking about comics from this Wednesday, September 9th. Move over, Giant Man. Ultraman is here. Donny Cates might have wrote his best issue yet, and Superman's newest foe. You are listening to the New Age Comics Podcast. Welcome, guys. I hope you are having a wonderful week. My week is going all right. We had a decent comic-sized week here, so that is very good and very fun. And I'm excited to review some of these issues for you guys. This will be episode 4 that I'm doing for this, and it's been a wild ride, guys. It's been a ton of work. I have to say, I have been putting copious amounts of time into some of these podcast elements. Some things that you guys would not even kind of think about in a weird way. That intro is very new. I added a lot to it, and I'm really happy about it. I'm working on a lot of different things here and there. I started socials for this podcast, and that has been, fruitful in some ways. I had a bit of a successful night the other night, and that is what it is. We gotta keep it moving, keep it rolling. I do want to thank everybody that's listening right now. It means the world to me, whether you're the homie or whether you're just a random. I'd love to hear what you guys think. So if you're liking what you're hearing, I would super appreciate comments on the video, comments on the SoundCloud if that's where you're listening at. Go ahead and like the video if that's what you're into. I get it. I'm really bad about liking videos. Little tangent here. Every YouTuber's like, go ahead, please. What's the word? Smash that fucking like button. And I never do it. I never, ever like videos. And I kind of feel bad, but I guess it helps out a lot. So here we are. And now I'm saying, smash that like button. Right now I am drinking a cafe latte. Coffee latte from The Mill, which is a coffee shop in the city I live in. So I'm feeling pretty zooty. I woke up today, got in the shower, ran over to The Mill, finished reading up some of these comics. So they're hot off the presses in terms of my commentary. My commentary is hot off the presses for some of these. And yeah, had 2 teas and now I'm drinking a coffee. So let me get that little ASMR in there. Nice. And yeah, we got some comics to review for today. This last week was actually a fairly small week, which, I think I'm beginning to enjoy some of those small weeks. It does suck to get just pounded by lots and lots of comics. It sucks on the monetary side as well as the time side. It takes me longer to do all this stuff. And for some reason, it is taking me forever to write out some of these notes, I'm doing the pod by myself, obviously, so I'm scripting out a lot more because I don't have anyone to go off of. And man, it takes forever. Sometimes it takes me longer to write my thoughts out than it does to actually read the comic. But hey, I just got a lot of thoughts. I care about these comical books. So without further ado, let's hop right into this week's books. Starting off this week, we had a lot of number 1 issues. We had a lot of first issues or one-shots. So this was actually a pretty exciting week in terms of all of that. So kicking it off, we got Ultraman, The Rise of Ultraman, number 1. This is written by Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom, with art by Francesco Mana, Michael Cho, and Girahiru. So this is an issue that I was actually anticipating quite a bit. And the thing is, kind of for no reason. I don't know anything about Ultraman. There's no reason I should have been excited for this comic. The only thing I know is that he's one of those old Japanese movies, right? Kind of like Godzilla, and where they'd build the small cities, and then so the people walking through them would look humongous, And that's all I knew. And I know that he fights kaiju, which are cool. Kaiju are fun, and that's what he grows huge. I guess he's one of those Ant-Man, Giant Man figures. But after reading this issue, I did a little research, just, browse the Wikipedia, and it actually made me appreciate Ultraman a lot more. I won't lie. Anyone that knows me knows that I am a sucker for some lore. Like, literally anything with lore. I'm trying to learn it. Anything. So, before I get into all of that, let's talk about the issue. This is one of those, like, several story issues where it has a main story in the beginning and then a bit of a backup story and then some funnies laced throughout. I thought this issue was really cool. It definitely felt like a first issue, if that makes sense. Like, had a lot of plot, a lot of dynamics getting set up. And, we get introduced to our mains. There's Shin and Kiki, who are, I guess, dating off and on. And Kiki works for, like, a SHIELD-type organization called the USP. Meanwhile, Shin, he, I guess, has failed admittance into the USP several times, but really wants to get in. And, we also meet Captain Morimatsu, and all three of these people, they kind of get intertwined into this UFO meteor incursion thing where Shin makes contact with the Ultraman thing. This just shows how little I know about this franchise. But, if you're an Ultraman fanatic, that probably was hilarious or embarrassing to listen to. But this will all be new to me. And honestly, I'm having kind of fun diving in. Like I said, it was a lot of setup, and I'm excited for the next issue to kind of get into the meat, get into that meat of it all. And from my limited research, it seems that they're kind of like revamping the Ultraman storyline for like a new generation. Hey, like myself. Dare I say, revamping it for a new age. Okay, apologies for that, but I had to, come on. To continue, the backstory, Ultra Q, was the title. And this is actually sort of what sold me on the issue, I won't lie. This is the kind of lore that I'm talking about. It showed that there has really been these like kaiju hunting groups for a super long time. I think it flashes to like the 50s in Paris. And that too, it's all around the world. And this was really cool, and I actually really hope that we get more of that Ultra Q stuff down the line. I would love if each book for this Ultraman series was like main story, Ultra Q shit. And then maybe, it can do one of those parts where it kind of like meets and they finally collide. So overall, I thought this was a really good book. And hey, I'm really excited for the next issue. And you know what? I think I'll be happy if I see Ultraman mollywop the fuck out of some kaiju. That's really all I want. Empyre Avengers Aftermath, #1, written by Al Ewing, drawn by Valerito Shahidi. Empyre is over. Finally. And an event can't end without a couple Aftermath one-shots, right? Marvel put out 2 of these, one Avengers and one Fantastic Four, which I really only got the Avengers because when they did the same thing for the 0 issues before the event started, I won't lie, the Fantastic Four one was some hot doo-doo. This issue served more as like a wedding issue for Hulkling and Wiccan, which, hey, like I said in my Empire 6 review, wedding issues are fun, so I am gonna give it a whirl, probably regardless. And, I gotta say, this issue wasn't too bad. Before the wedding, though, we get a little bit of lore / backstory for Hulkling's grandmother, who was one of the people kind of pulling the strings throughout the event. We learned that his grandmother essentially like left his mom for dead and played coy until she could kind of cinch this plan for domination. And, this stuff was pretty cool. I think his grandma actually makes a pretty good villain. But, some of this information I feel like would have been highly appreciated during the event. Because to me, it was kind of too little too late. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not tell us this during the event? Like, it was certainly something that confused me. Like, what the fuck's the deal with his grandma? And I was wondering kind of what was with this lore. But, regardless, the wedding portion of this issue was actually pretty fun. I specifically liked there was this bit with the priest. He noted that, hey, this is the first outer space same-sex Jewish wedding that I've ever done. And, that was funny. Followed by a truly amazing splash page, actually, with, everyone just drinking and talking and having fun. It was just a great splash page. If anything, that splash page kind of made the wedding portion for me. Then we see Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. They're catching up a little bit, talking about the old Young Avengers days, which, hey, they had some good Civil War jokes thrown in there. I'm always here for that. So overall, I thought the wedding stuff was really fun in this issue. Afterwards, we see Hulkling. he actually administers punishment to the Super Skrull and Captain Glory because, you know, they were kind of complicit in this whole coup thing. I like that Kl'rt, Super Skrull, was sentenced to a lifetime of like diplomatic service to prevent as much death as he can as punishment, you know, for all the death he has caused. I thought that was really cool. And then it was interesting that Captain Glory, he refused this punishment, basically saying, like, I'm a weapon, I will remain the king's hand, and you will one day want me to be there. I like the whole, you know, new galactic royalty type thing. I think if Marvel kept that up, it would kind of make up for this event and make it feel a little more worth it in the end. But, you know, we'll see. I'm sure it won't be long before some writer wants the old Kree Skrull beef back. They'll just have to do it well. But okay, can we talk about that cliffhanger last page though? So during the wedding, essentially Abigail Brand, who is like this Alpha Flight girl, she basically says to the Avengers like, hey, if you're not going to tell us about space shit going on, then what the fuck's the point of Alpha Flight, you know? And I thought that was a neat little point to bring up because Alpha Flight, you know, they are supposed to be the space police for Earth right now. And they were left out of the whole event. So I'm glad that Ewing didn't just literally forget about them, you know. But then that last page, we cut to this whole Kree Skrull Empire just fucked up completely. Captain Glory, he's bloodied as hell. Hulkling has the shit kicked out of him. And Abigail is there saying, I told you guys, if Alpha Flight doesn't work, I'm going to make something better. Like, yo, what was that? I feel like I have so many questions. Is this just going to be one of those cliffhangers that, you know, never comes back? Like, that was my immediate thought, that there isn't an ongoing series that this could really, like, get continued in, you know? Unless Ewing does something in Immortal Hulk, I guess. You know, like, if it was a Knoll tease, we would know, like, okay, that's some Venom shit. But this, like, there's no Alpha Flight series going on. There's no series that really centers on the Kree and the Skrull in any way. But, you know, I have some big questions about what Abigail was even, like, doing. Is she just some sort of badass team now? Or I'm not really sure. And that's the fun. I guess we'll have to wait and see. In the end, this isn't our last Empyre Aftermath comic, but it's definitely one of the better issues of the whole event, in my opinion. It definitely didn't make me, you know, 180 on the whole series or anything, but a wedding issue is always a good way to end off something like this. But what I can say is I really want to go to an outer space gay Jewish wedding now. Dark Knight's Death Metal Trinity Crisis 1, written by Scott Schneider, drawn by Francis Manapul. We're continuing our journey through Death Metal. We're getting hit with another tie-in, and this time it is not an anthology book with 100 stories. It's just one story with one writer, and that writer is the Schneids, who, you know, he's writing the main event. He's writing Death Metal. So I had to pick this one up. Like, I wasn't going to miss out on any little lore droplings that he's going to be dropping in, because, you know, my ass is going to need them, especially with an event that's so damn confusing like this one. Hopping into the book, though, this is a dense one. Lots of text, lots of plot, lots of lore right off the bat. I'm wondering, why isn't this book in, like, the main series? Because so much shit happens. This is essentially one of those, you know, big plans, everybody get your shit together, it's go time kind of books. All the DC heroes, they're gearing up. They're trying to throw a wrench into the Batman Who Laughs plans, which we get some more explaining of that as well, which I really liked. I guess that the gist of it is Perpetua, who is like the chaos goddess, she feeds off of crisis energy. And the Batman Who Laughs, he created 3 worlds that are continually going through the 3 major crises, hence the name Trinity Crisis. And so we're seeing Crisis on Infinite Earths, Final Crisis, and Infinite Crisis. The gang plans to go there, go to each world, and capture that energy, and boy, does shit go sideways. Of course. I really liked this book. It definitely was the best tie-in so far, in my opinion. It really helped clean things up for me in terms of what was going on and where the story would be going. The Trinity, you know, Bats, Supes, and Wonder Woman, along with Harley, Swamp Thing, Jonah Hex, and Jarro, in a jar, all infiltrate Castle Bat. And, you know, I couldn't talk about a death metal book without having like 10 Bat hybrid characters. Of course, the gang encounters and fights a bunch of Bat people while trying to get into Castle Bat, but they notably encounter the Robin King. And the Robin King fight was dope as hell. Obviously, we gotta throw up an RIP for Jonah, who died valiantly. But now I'm wondering what was up with that whole White Lantern bullet shit, though. I damn near thought he was gonna pull out the White Lantern bullet and just clap Robin King right there. I guess not. We'll have to see. Part of me is a little annoyed with some of the Robin King's plot armor ass utility belt. Like, yeah, it's kind of neat, the whole utility belt meme, but I'm kind of done having to act surprised that he has a tool for everybody. Like, come on, we know. But after Jonah gets clapped and the gang has to bounce, that's some shit, because they were the Trinity's ride home from all of these crisis worlds. The book ends with some awesome splash pages of each member ending in their own crisis worlds. I personally haven't actually read any of these crises, so that stuff definitely kind of went over my head, like with the Anti-Monitor and Darkseid and all of that. But I've been hearing non-stop raving about this last page, which shows one Superboy Prime, which I guess is supposed to be some like fucked up version of Superman that was, responsible for the Infinity Crisis. I don't really know. And I guess I'm down for learning some of that, but I'll probably have to do a little research on him just so I can feel that weight. But regardless, this book was loads of fun, and it's making me want to rename this pod to New Age Comics Pod Bats. Sorry. Moving back to Marvel, we got X-Force 12, written by Benjamin Percy, drawn by Basel Dua. Talking about badass books, man. Like, this book is fucking crazy. I think this is the first time that I'm talking about X-Force on this pod, which is a shame, because I am always looking forward to this book, let me tell you. It's been like the X-team that does what needs to be done, like the fucking dirty work. Beast, he's kind of been the team leader so far, which I think is a great fit. Not only is Beast my personal favorite X-Mang, but the way that Percy writes him is just so fucking mint, guys. He's taking the role of like do what needs to be done and kind of the like ultimate consequentialist leader type philosophy, who he'll just do anything to get the job done, which that's been like a consistent story point throughout the book. And Beast has honestly fucking tread villain status a couple times, and hey, I'm fucking digging it. Last time we left off with this insane Russian assassin nesting doll thing. Like, holy shit, that just sounds crazy when I put it like that, but that's what it is. They apprehend a bunch of these Russian assassins, and now there's like these mini assassins that are jumping out of them, and they're killing people. It's just insane. Quentin Quire, on the other hand, he got killed by one of these little mini guys with this Cerebro sword, something I am unfamiliar with, and he gets killed like right on a portal, which throws him into Russia, and he gets nabbed by this dude named Mikhail. Don't know this guy either, but now we're continuing that stuff. Mikhail, he is collaborating with this shadow group named Xeno, which they were behind Xavier's assassination in the first arc. If that sounds interesting to you, you should read X-Force. But while Beast is back on Krakoa, he's devised this plan to like detain all the mutants with Russian ties and like make a spectacle of them. That way he can like send a message that you cannot be treacherous, you cannot be a traitor to Krakoa. Yo, this comic was fucking great. As always, like I said, I look forward to every single issue of this series. Percy is just killing this book. I love the angles that he takes for X-Force, like about power and about control. It feels like I'm watching, like a political thriller while I'm reading this. Just the way that Beast simultaneously is like working with the team, but sometimes he's working against the team. It's just so fun. And it gives so much tension to the story. I really can't rave about it enough. And this shit with Colossus and Omega Red being detained is just so fucking wild. Like, while reading this, I can't help but feel there's this level of commentary with Krakoa being adversarial with Russia. It's definitely touching also on themes of disinformation and even a hinge of like McCarthyism when it comes to Colossus's detaining, which this is what I'm saying. It's like a political thriller. It's so fucking cool. Like they're just sketched out immediately by people who have any kind of ties to Russia, which is McCarthyism 101. So this book definitely set up a whole fuck ton of shit. You know, Mikhail is working with Zeno. That's going to be crazy. He has Quentin Quire over in Russia. That's also super crazy. So, you know, this book, it's just amazing. 100%. This has got to be the auxiliary X title that you people are reading. What this book is also gearing up for and has been doing for 2 issues now is it's the path to X of Swords, which has been really cool, and it's making me hype as fuck for this event. But a bit of a thing, I don't really know what the deal is with X of Swords. I don't know if we're supposed to at this point. I don't know if we're supposed to be picking up kind of clues from other things. I guess all I really know about the event is it's gonna have something to do with swords. Web of Venom Wraith #1, written by Donny Cates, drawn by Guy Villanova. So there has been a good handful of these Web of Venom one-shots, which honestly, they've all been really good. I can't really think of one that's disappointed at this point. Here, we got Wraith, who he's kind of a non-central Venom character. And I've read a bit of Wraith here and there. I know he is kind of like obsessed with the Necro Sword or something. He had like a little tie-in during the Annihilation Conquest event a while back, which it was pretty cool. I liked those tie-ins. I think we also saw him a little bit in the Cates' Guardian run. So, you know, any character that's even like said the word Venom, Cates has got to tie him in to his humongous, massive Venom run. But, okay, guys, what do you think I'm gonna say? Huh? It's Cates, man. This dude never disappoints. Seriously, this issue was fucking phenomenal. Holy shit. I don't even know where to start. Essentially, this is like a Wraith solo journey book where he's searching for the secrets of his past and his father. And oh my God, he finds himself on Clintar confronting Null. Null rips his fucking clothing off, which like turns into the Necro Sword. And you know, that's some news to me. I don't really know what was up with that. Wraith, he like, after that, he shoots himself back to Earth just to like warn Eddie before he dies. Okay, get this. And this is the coolest dialogue ever. Null is but a shadow, an opposite, a god of light. Bro, what the fuck is life? Like, this is how we should feel after reading comics. Like, just fucking brain melted, awestruck. Seriously, this comic was a fucking 10. Easy. I think that's the first 10 that I've given on this show, but that is well deserving. It had to be Cates. Like I shouldn't even be surprised. This book was just so awesome. It opens up with this like cold opening of Wraith. I don't even know how he does it. He like blows up like 4 guys' heads at once. It's so cool. He's talking about his past. He's talking about how he is Kree, but then like I guess he got overtaken by this thing that's like zapping his soul. It was just really cool. I definitely feel like if you don't know who Wraith is, that's not a problem. And I barely knew who he is. Like, you can hop into this book and it's gonna teach you the gist of him, and it's gonna make you probably fall in love with the character by the end. I also gotta note, I fucking love the way that Cates wrote some of Wraith's like inner monologue. It was very Rorschach, like very, short sentences, quick thoughts, but just so great. Like, it captures his voice just so wonderfully. So this book was insane. Like, I think we're gonna see some King in Black stuff. I think that's where this is going. It has to be kind of leading up to all of this. And I just knew I was gonna love this book. I'm always a slut for that deep space lore. There's nothing else I can really say. This book, it's just a face melter. Like, you have to be reading Venom. If you're not reading Venom, what the fuck are you doing? Last but not least, Superman 25, written by Brian Michael Bendis, drawn by Ivan Rice. I've talked about my thoughts on the Bendis Superman verse. It's rather controversial, I will give you that. But, full disclosure, I'm a fan. I'm into it. I think it's fun. And I gotta give credit where credit is due. I was a Superman hater. I'm not even kidding. Like, some of you guys who know me, you know I was one of those people who was like, man, Superman's just overpowered. Like, what the fuck's the deal with him? I was a Superman hater. before I checked this run out, I really wanted to read Event Leviathan back in the day just because I thought it looked cool. And so I did it the right way. I caught up on all of Action Comics. I did my research, and dude, it flipped me. It literally flipped me from a hater to a lover. I fucking love Superman now. That's why I definitely will be defending the Bendis verse. It kind of showed me all there is to love about the man, or Kryptonian. So here we are, issue 25, extra sized, anniversary issue, new villain, Sinmar. Is this going to be the issue to spec? Well, I would say so. I thought this issue was great. The last Supes arc kind of had me on the flaccid end, I won't lie. But this issue, it gets right back into that greatness. This issue serves as a bit of an origin story for this new villain, who actually isn't named Sinmar. That's just his home planet. His real name is Eisno Alcor, which is a cool ass name, I gotta say. Very alien ass name. And the story begins at the Kryptonian explosion, which, you know, the Superman origin story that we all know and love and have been beat over the head with a million times, just like pearls. And it kind of shows how this Sinmar council observed like the entire event of the explosion of Krypton, to him flying to Earth, to him growing up and becoming Superman. And they were interested in this idea of like an apolitical, agovernmental guardian figure. And they wanted to replicate and adapt that. So they selected Eisno to kind of fulfill that role. Meanwhile, while we're getting that story, we're flashing back and forth between a story with Clark kind of reuniting with Laura Lang, aka Superwoman, which that's news to me too. Like I said, I didn't read any Superman before this Bendis shit, so a lot of this is pretty new to me. And, you know, Laura Lang, she's, I guess, reporting on his new reveal of his identity that happened in The Truth, you know, in lieu of the Daily Planet being investigated by the FBI, which I gotta know, it's really cool how Bendis is kind of like lightly tying in Action Comics and the Superman title. I think that's just what Bendis does. That's what he's good at. And that's what makes universes feel connected and makes you want to read both series. But bro, this story was fucking great. Like Bendis and Rice, they're just a killer creative team. And like they just do it so well. Especially with the Eisno scenes, all it takes is one panel of Reese that can make you just connect with this alien character, like just like that. Just by giving Eisno that depth, you know, just the way, I don't know, the way he draws him, you just see like all the little feelings in his face with his eyes and his mouth. Like there's this scene when they ask him to be like their Superman and he just has this like smile. And I'm like, all of a sudden now I'm smiling, you know, like I'm happy for him. And then later he's going through just this terrible dark things and he's screaming and I guess I don't want to say he's crying, but he's very upset and you can tell just in his face. The art is just amazing. Like Reese was meant to draw Superman. And Bendis, he does the part as well. His story is right alongside it. Eisno starts to kind of feel like he's a weapon throughout all of this, even though he helped his race achieve this like utopia state. You know, and on the Clark Kent side, it's just sort of reiterating all the reasons that I love Superman. Like he is just ruthlessly down to earth, aggressively down to earth, which is, you know, that's the fun of Superman is he's this alien. He's this like basically a god amongst men, but he's just like the most down to earth guy. And there are a couple lines that I definitely wanted to note here. There's this scene where Superman and Superwoman, they're kind of rescuing this sinking boat. And this kid, he's like, hey, you guys should make super babies. And goes, you do know how to make babies, right? And Superman's face gets so flushed, like it's hilarious. And then there's this line where Superwoman, she's saying how she kind of got her powers by accident. And Superman replies pretty much with, almost everybody gets their powers by accident. Which, I don't know, that line just kind of stopped me a little bit. And it just gave me a big smile on my face. I kind of took that line to mean this whole idea that we all receive like our greatest blessings, our powers, unintentionally. that's kind of the struggle with life and with the human condition. We go through so much and we feel like it's the end of the world, when in some sense those things that we've gone through, they actually become our superpowers. They become some of the greatest things about us. And so this is what I'm saying. Like, it's just great writing. Like, you can read this and just pick up these little food for thought tidbits. And that really let me connect with Superman so much. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this book just reiterated all of the reasons that I'm just head over heels for Superman at this point. This issue is a must read for fans. I won't spoil the ending here, but it's got me very excited for the next issue. And I think I'm gonna have to put on the Superman S shirt that I have when I'm reading it, just because we're in for a wild ride and I can't wait. And that is all I got for you guys today. It was a pretty small week, but all of these issues were it was like a small week but an expensive week. Like, let me look back through this. The Superman issue was a $6 book. The Wraith issue was a $5 book. Of course, the Trinity Crisis book, I think, was also a $6 book. The Avengers Aftermath issue was a $5, and the Rise of Ultraman, I think, was $6 as well. So this was a quite expensive week, even though, it was still only 6 issues. But hey, we got all we needed, and that's probably why it took me a long time to kind of read all of these. But thought it was a great week, and I'm, just loving doing this podcast. I know it's kind of a joke at this point. Every episode I'm ending with, oh man, I just love doing this. It's so much fun, blah, 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 blah. But I really am. And I'm definitely trying to, and I'm a broken record here, okay, guys? But I want to make this show tons of fun. I have a lot of ideas for little bits that I can do. Maybe not bits, that's not the right word for it, but sort of sections. I would love to actually talk about kind of just comic news. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't know whether that would go best in the beginning or the end of the episode, but just to be like, yo, this is like the comic headlines, because every week there is like comic news dropping and I'm always following it. So why not do a little bit about it? On top of that, I am looking into doing like more episodes. I can give a little tease here. I think one of the first, I'm planning on doing a series called like the catch up or catching up, and it's just going to be me reading older books, because that's one of the things. I'm a newer guy into comics, so a lot of the old stuff I haven't read. And I'm not saying I'm going to go back and read like, Jack Kirby shit, and not shitting on Jack Kirby. Love Jack Kirby, and I definitely would go read some of that stuff, but I'm kind of all over the place on where it is that I am in my backlog reading. And to give a little tease here, one of the backlog things that I'm totally diving into is old Valiant books, and not classic Valiant, but the reboot back in 2012. I love Valiant. I think Valiant is so cool. I'm just super into connected universes, and I think it's really neat to have like a third one out there that's not DC and Marvel. And I kind of wanted to do like a read through of the Valiant timeline. So maybe that one will be special from the catching up. Maybe that one can be like really classic stories. But I want to do like this Valiant read through. And so I read the first volume of Harbinger like a week ago, and I really liked it. And so I want to do a review on that. But it's kind of a different ball game, doing a read through or a podcast rather on like one story like that connects through them all, not just talking about, oh, like this came out this week, holy shit, like being like, hey, this is an older book but I read 5 issues of it and let's talk about it. And that too, on the talking about it tip, I'm kind of working out even still how that I'm going to kind of approach some of these reviews. Sometimes I feel a little dissatisfied with how deep that I'm going into it, essentially thinking I might not be going deep enough sometimes. And I would like to, I don't know, it's bizarre. Doing this by myself is a bit of a unique experience, because sometimes it's easier for me to collect my thoughts on a book when I'm talking with someone about it, because they bring up something and I'm like, oh yeah, I liked that, but I also liked this aspect, like spinning out of that. So it's been a challenge kind of trying to gather my thoughts a little bit, but we'll see. like I have kind of said, I've sort of scripted out a lot of what I'm talking about, and I would like to kind of slowly inch into ad-lib stuff, because that I think is probably the best comic commentary can get, in my opinion. But we'll see. This is a lot of inside baseball stuff, but I kind of like to just decompress here and talk about what the podcast is and how it's doing. So I'm having a lot of fun. I put up the last issue. Ooh, not the last issue. Put up the last episode on YouTube last week, and it actually got more views than I was anticipating. It got like 17 or something. Hey, I was expecting 0. So to those of you who have laughed at 17 views, I was literally thinking no one would watch it. Because I guess that's kind of what was happening on the SoundCloud tip. And nothing wrong with SoundCloud. I do want to have that audio version out there, but we'll see. Maybe I'll end up transitioning some of the money I'm paying for SoundCloud into like an RLS feed. So then I can actually get up on some podcast apps. We will see. That's sort of a down the line kind of thing. But I'm going to be doing a video for this review as well. So obviously, some of you might be watching it right now, and that's very cool. Appreciate you guys watching. The only way I've been able to describe this podcast journey is I feel like I'm kind of at a bottleneck at the moment, because I just started it, and I'm a couple episodes in, and it feels like everything has sort of like clamped up, and I need to do a lot of shit at once, and it's really overwhelming. And it's transitioned to me putting a lot of work into the outside stuff, which is really fun, and I've had a blast doing it. But then it's made it also hard to like just simply read the comics, you know. But regardless, I think I'm gonna have all of this stuff up this week on Saturday. You'll probably be listening to it at that point. I'm just having a blast. I would love to hear, if you're listening to this, what are your thoughts on the pod? How can I improve? How can I disimprove? Unimprove? How could it be worse? Tell me tell me that. No, yeah, and just leave a like, share it, heart it, whatever you got to do. It means the world to me that, you know, there's people out there listening and that people think my commentary is cool. So thank you guys for listening. It has been another fun week of doing the New Age Comics podcast, and I will see you guys next week with some comical books. So, like I said, thanks for listening. Goodbye, guys. Have a wonderful week.